International sanctions. They're supposed to pressure governments, right? But what most people don't realise is that they've created a hidden class of 8 million people who can't even open a basic bank account, all because of where they were born.
That's quite a striking way to look at it. You're referring to the Iranian diaspora situation that's explored in this new book, Second-Class Citizen, aren't you?
Exactly, and here's what makes this so fascinating. These are highly educated professionals, doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, who are being treated like potential criminals by the banking system simply because of their nationality. I just read about an Iranian neurosurgeon in London who couldn't even receive her salary through normal banking channels.
That's mind-boggling when you think about it. How widespread is this problem, really?
Well, the numbers are pretty staggering. We're talking about 8 million Iranian immigrants worldwide, and according to the book's research, over 60% of them have experienced some form of banking discrimination. What's really interesting is how this creates this sort of parallel financial system where people have to find workarounds just to do basic things like pay their rent or send money to their kids in college.
So, if these people aren't actually connected to the Iranian government, why are banks so aggressive about restricting their services?
That's where it gets really interesting. The author explains that banks are so terrified of violating sanctions that they're practicing what he calls extreme over-compliance. They're basically saying, better safe than sorry, and just blocking everyone with an Iranian passport, regardless of where they live or what they do. And here's the irony. This approach might actually be making the financial system less secure.
How so? That seems counterintuitive.
Well, think about it. When people can't use regular banking services, they're forced to use alternative methods that are harder to track and regulate. The author presents data showing that these restrictions have actually led to an increase in informal money transfer networks. It's like, in trying to enforce sanctions, we're pushing people toward exactly the kind of financial behaviour we're trying to prevent.
That's quite an unintended consequence. You mentioned earlier there was a historical parallel to this situation.
Yes, and this is where the book gets really powerful. The author draws this direct line between the financial exclusion of Jewish communities in Nazi Europe and what's happening to Iranian diaspora today. Of course, the scale and context are different, but the mechanism of using financial exclusion as a tool of control has some disturbing similarities.
That's a pretty sobering comparison. What solutions does the author propose?
The book actually lays out this really comprehensive three-part approach. First, it suggests specific reforms for banks, like implementing more nuanced risk assessment protocols that look at individual circumstances rather than just nationality. Second, it provides a practical guide for affected individuals to navigate the system and assert their rights. And third, and this is really interesting, it proposes creating an international oversight body specifically to monitor and prevent financial discrimination against diaspora communities.
Those sound like significant changes. How realistic are they?
Well, here's what makes this timely. The author argues that technology is actually making these changes more feasible than ever. For example, new AI-powered compliance systems could better distinguish between legitimate and suspicious transactions without relying on crude nationality-based screening. The book cites several European banks that are already piloting these more sophisticated approaches.
That's fascinating how technology might actually help solve this problem. What about the broader economic impact?
Oh, that's where the numbers get really interesting. The author estimates that these banking restrictions are causing annual economic losses in the billions, not just to the affected individuals, but to the global economy as a whole. Think about it. When you prevent highly skilled professionals from fully participating in the economy, you're essentially leaving money on the table.
Looking at all this, it really challenges our understanding of how sanctions work, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and that's really the bigger picture here. The book is arguing that we need to fundamentally rethink how we use financial systems as tools of foreign policy. Because right now, we're creating this new class of global citizens who are technically free to live and work anywhere, but are practically imprisoned by invisible financial walls. And the author makes a compelling case that if we don't address this issue now, it could expand to affect more and more communities as sanctions become an increasingly common foreign policy tool.
That's quite a warning for the future. What's the one thing that surprised you most about all this?
You know what really got me? The psychological impact. The book includes these powerful testimonials from people who've spent years building successful lives in their adopted countries, only to suddenly find themselves treated with suspicion by their local bank. It's this constant reminder that no matter how integrated they become, they're still seen as other. And thank you for tuning in to today's episode from Ostad and Partners and Pluko Group. At Ostad and Partners, we specialise in international law and all its many dimensions. To discover more of our podcasts, audiobooks, publication, and the wide range international legal of services we offer, connect with us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Simply search for Ostad and Partners or Razor Ostad, and you'll find us easily. Until next time, take care, stay informed, and keep striving for excellence. Stay tuned and have lovely moments.